It was Aristotle who said, we become what we repeatedly do. Excellence is not an act, but a habit. And that is why in today's discussion, I want to take you through what I call study habits. Study habits are also known as study methods or study skills. But I want to focus on habits because habits are defined as repeated patterns of behavior or mental shortcuts learned through experience. You realize that there's a difference between reading and studying. A certain sage said that reading gives us breadth, but studying gives us depth. That is why Apostle Paul of Tarsus speaks to his protege Timothy and tells him, study to show thyself approved, a good workman that needs not to be ashamed of himself, but rightly divides the word of truth. So you realize that when we talk about study habits, we are not just focusing on pupils in the primary school or high school scholars or university students, but you realize that all and sundry ought to learn how to study. And that is why I want to give you some 10 study habits. Number one, we want to focus on a positive mental attitude. That is where it all begins. If you want to study well, it all begins in the mind. It all begins with positivity. There is always a miracle in positivity. And not just positivity, we must get to know that the mind plays a pivotal role as far as study is concerned. So, remember, Napoleon Hill said, whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. So that is where it all begins. Mind mastery, mind management, and all that are very, very important as far as studying is concerned. Attitude. Your attitude determines your altitude, which means the far you'll go in life depends on what sort of attitude that you wear. That is why Zig Ziglar said in substance that it is your attitude, not your aptitude, that determines your altitude, which means that the far you'll go in life is all about attitude, not necessarily aptitude, which has to do with the natural ability or talent. Number two, I would recommend regular class attendance. Whether you are at the university level, or you're a high school scholar, or you're a pupil in the primary school, it all requires regular class attendance. Those people who skive classes, they find it difficult to catch up. Those who skive lectures, those who skive lessons, they find it very difficult to catch up with what happens. And that is why we recommend that you have to ensure that you attend the lessons or the classes regularly. Number three, I would recommend reading avidly or reading voraciously. You realize that you cannot master concepts, or you cannot master content, or rather, you cannot create a very strong memory if in case you don't have a strong reading culture. So we must purpose to read. We must purpose to ensure that we create time to read books, read the course books, read the textbooks, read the set texts, read the class readers, self-help books, read avidly, read widely and wildly if in case you want to shine as far as academia is concerned. The other thing I'll recommend is that you need to build the art of concentration. One sage said that the difference between a monkey and a philosopher lies in concentration. If you can never concentrate, then you cannot go far. And that means that you must endeavor to cure your monkey mind. We know that there are many people whose concentration span is very small. They can never get time to concentrate, and that can be very dangerous. Yet you need that for you to be able to cultivate a strong study habit. The other thing that I would recommend is that you need to seek to understand. You realize that the mind can achieve anything, the way we said, and that means that even difficult concepts, even that content that looks like it is very difficult to attain a marvelous mastery of it, if you give yourself time and you look for ways on how to seek to understand, you can always manage it. Apart from that, you also need to have the relevant academic tools. As a student, you need to have the books that are required. You need to have the materials. Studying from home requires you to have a reading table, materials that are required, or else you'll not be able to study effectively. So the tools are very, very important. That is why we say that even fools need tools. If in case fools need tools for them to do the things they ought to do, then how much more do you then require these things? So you have to be very, very careful. The other thing is that you need to know that group work can really work for you. Working in groups. I know during this era of social distancing or rather physical distancing, it is very difficult to study together. But of course, after it, you can always gather, you can always assemble together with other people and be able to achieve much, be able to draw energy from synergy. Two are better than one. That is what the good book tells us. For they get better proceeds from their labor. So learn to embrace teamwork and team spirit and unity of purpose as far as reading and studying are concerned. The other thing that I would recommend is that you need to build the power of memory. You need massive banks of memory. And there is no one who has got a poor memory. Memory is developed. Memory is developed in nature. So you can always work on it. And you develop memory by reading. You develop memory by repetition. We say that repetition is the mother of all memories. You keep on reading the stuff and reading more so that you develop a very good memory in nature. You also develop a good memory by employing mnemonic devices like you can use songs, you can use acronyms, etc., etc. So you must think of ways on how you can enhance your memory, even through associations, associating what you are doing with something else or what you are reading with something else helps you to develop a very powerful memory. Because without memory, you cannot really achieve much as far as matters to do with study are concerned. So that is what I wanted us to look at in study habits. I'm Victor Ochieng, the director, God's Pen Consultancy. You can log into my website and get to know what I do more at www.godspenconsultancy.co.ke. You can also subscribe to my YouTube channel and get to watch more useful videos like this one, God's Pen Consultancy. Thank you.